Good evening and welcome to KiwaniTalk. My name is Renee and I'm with the Dearborn Kiwanis Club, and we are I'm your host tonight along with the Dearborn High School production team. I am honored to be here tonight with Mayor Bazzi. He is from the city of Dearborn Heights, and I've known the mayor for a few years now, and I was just tickled that you said that you could be on the show with us. I'm really happy that you're here so that other people get to know what a kind soul that you are. I know being a mayor can bring some really tough situations to you, but I also want to thank you for being giving us our freedom. I understand you are a highly decorated Marine, and I just kind of want to know, did you grow up in Dearborn and go to our schools?
Well, first, I can never say no to you, Renee. So those tell me jump, I say how high. You're an amazing person. You know, worked with you for several years.
Yep.
A lot of initiatives for the city, helping the needy. So thank you so much.
That's
for
my
this
pleasure.
Opportunity. It's an honor for me to be here with you. And so I did actually. We grew up in Dearborn. We immigrated to the U.S. I was about 12 years old.
Okay.
Went to Salina for a short time. Then from there moved to Lowry.
I went to Lowry. Tell me, then you went to Fortson.
Then I went to Fortson.
Oh, okay, then we're in good company. So when you left Fortson, what was did you know when you were graduating that you wanted to go into the service?
We had a very humble beginning, in our family. We immigrated to the U.S. with nothing. So I wanted to get an education. Obviously, most of my family, did not have the opportunity to get an education, college education. And I tried it for a short time, but it was really tough, working graveyard shift, going to school during the day. And so that was kind of tough. So I tried it for a little over a year and a half, and it was just, it was unbearable.
Yeah.
So I decided to join the Marines, and
so the Marines were less bearable than working. Okay.
Well, when you want to try, you got to go for that. You got to go for the best. Right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you hit the best.
And I like the challenge, and so I went for the Marine Corps.
How long were you in the Marines?
So I did 4 years first. Did my 4 years active duty. I did a little bit of school while I was in the service.
Okay.
Then I decided to get out and go to school, finish my bachelor's, and I wanted to get back into the Marine Corps. But I figured, you know what, this was great, with my bachelor's, so I decided to jump straight into my master's degree.
Okay.
And so I got into my master's degree, and I finished it, then I decided to get into the reserves.
Oh, okay.
So I wanted to actually get the best of two worlds. I want to, work for corporate America and also, still give back to the country. But I've done more active duty in the reserves actually than I did when I was on active duty, especially after 9/11 with being called up so much.
Were you in Afghanistan? Where were you?
So I did a lot of, called up a lot, here in the U.S., but also I was in the Middle East. Okay. And I spent some time in Africa as well. Okay. So I didn't go to Afghanistan, but I spent a few years in, total of few years, about 2 years in the Middle East, various countries. Okay. And I spent about 14 months or so in Africa.
That's a nice place. So are you still in the reserve?
No, I retired in 2016.
2016, okay. But you still do a lot, and thankfully you do a lot to help the vets. You support some of their initiatives. I've seen you at many dinners supporting the veterans that, we sometimes forget to support. So you were in the reserves, and then you went to Ford Motor?
When I got out of active duty, I started working for Boeing in Seattle.
Boeing, okay.
So my active duty time was in Washington State.
Okay.
It's actually, there's an island not too far from Seattle, Washington. It's called Whidbey Island. Okay. So I was based there for about 4 years or so.
Oh, okay.
And when I got out, I wanted to go to college. Obviously, you get some of the money from the GI Bill. Right. It's not enough to cover your school. Right. So I started working for Boeing. Okay. And then between the GI Bill and Boeing, they paid part of my education. Then the money ran out. So I stayed
Surprise.
with, yeah, exactly. And I just didn't want student loans. And back then, you can't really, I didn't know much about it. I was they call us boaters, I didn't know much about that stuff. So I started exploring options, my master's degree, and talked to some people at Boeing and Seattle, and they told me, it's like, well, if you get a degree related to your job, then we cover it.
Oh.
And so I was in aeronautics. I
Okay.
was working, doing inspection, investigation on issues with aircraft, and they paid for my degree. I got my aeronautical
nice.
degree
Okay.
as a master's degree as well.
So then what did you do?
So I stayed there for a little while, and then I got married. And
To a
my
wonderful
previous,
lady?
No, not
Oh, a
that.
previous, okay.
Previous.
Second one, okay.
Yeah, so the first one.
Okay.
So I decided to, she's from Michigan, and we moved back to Seattle. I mean, I moved her to Seattle,
Okay.
and she wanted to move back to Michigan,
Okay.
with her family. So I came back. I was still actually working for Boeing, so they wanted, because, they just paid for my degree.
Yeah,
so
they want to keep you a little bit.
Yeah, so they basically created a position for me here in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
And so I was responsible for all the companies that supply parts to Boeing.
Okay.
So I was quality manager.
Yeah.
And so I went from an engineer to a quality manager. So I managed, I would say, about 25 to 30 companies.
Oh.
They supply parts, processes. So they did like a process like heat treating, plating.
Yep.
And anything they produce has to go through myself before
Right.
it gets shipped to Seattle, where they
Yeah.
actually put on aircraft.
Okay.
So I did that for 2 years.
Okay.
Then finally, they said, no, you got to come back to Seattle. You can't stay in Michigan.
Yeah.
Because that position, it was like 2 years. So that's when I decided to,
Leave?
it's like, I had no choice because, she didn't want to move back to Seattle.
Yeah.
So I gave my notice, got a job at Ford.
Okay.
So
How long were you at Ford? You just kind of retired from there, didn't you?
Yeah, I retired when I was appointed mayor.
Okay.
First. They had a package.
Yeah.
So I took the package, an early retirement package.
Okay.
So I took that, and so I think it was about 21 years or so with
With
Ford.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. My dad was Ford. My brother's Ford. So yeah, I
It's
drive a Ford.
Yeah, it's a great company.
Great company. I always wanted to get into Ford.
Yeah.
They didn't secretary and just didn't need anybody. So
Yeah, I love the company. I mean, I love Boeing. It was a great company, but I love aircraft. I like working on airplanes. Worked on it was defense and space program for Boeing, but at Ford I really enjoyed it. I liked the work was great. I mean, I was an engineer as well, and the work environment was amazing.
Yeah.
So I just loved it. Like I would have stayed there 30 years if
if you hadn't stepped into
this
mayor's position.
Correct.
So how long? So you were on the city council.
Yes.
How long were you on the city council?
I was elected in 2017, so I was on council roughly about 3 years.
Okay. You were just a council member?
I was a council chair pro tem, so I was
Okay, that's what I thought. I started kind of when I met you a few years ago at food banks, and at that time I didn't know who you were, or how important you were in the city of Dearborn Heights. But what I took from what I met you was the fact that you were a community person. You were always wanting to help, and you put on food drives for so many people during COVID. In the snow, we were out in the snow, and and I think that's what really impressed me was that I heard you were kind of running for the mayor for that what do they call it, interim, and you don't see many people in high levels like you out in the community doing what you do. I just saw you on Facebook the other day. You were with a woman who was celebrating 101 birthday. I mean, in your schedule, knowing, I'm sure you're 24/7 as a mayor, but to me, the community needs to know and understand the kind of person you are. You're not just the mayor of Dearborn Heights. You are a kind soul person that is doing the best that you can in the position you have, in the people you work with, and you still find time to give to the community. And I think Dearborn Heights, the other mayor unfortunately passed away, but I think you've brought some great new things to the community from what I've been involved with you, and from what I hear Dearborn Heights residents speak highly of you, those that have been near you and have seen you in action. You know, here's a mayor up on a big truck, you know, pulling boxes out and, you know, helping people. You know, you don't see that in too many government positions. They just don't have the time to deal with the community. And I think that's what Dearborn Heights needs to hear, and the world needs to hear as a mayor, that you are a human being.
Well, thank you.
And I, you know, when I heard that you had taken the position of the mayor in Dearborn Heights, I know it was a hard position. You fought hard to win that because of the value that you bring to the table, and Dearborn Heights needed a little bit of turning around. I know I've witnessed a couple council meetings, and you know, I was like, wow, you know, how can you help that kind of go to where people understand that you just stepped in? You know, you haven't been in there a year yet, you know, and you made some changes. But tell me a little bit about, like, the council. What was the purpose? What is your purpose as a council member?
The first one you said, like, community service, you know, this is something we grew up with, you know. As a child, my mom is always encouraging, you know, community service, you know, help the neighbors, you know, help whoever's in need. You know, ever since I was little, like, you didn't know any better. It's like, you know, okay, you just did it.
Yeah.
And you kind of get used to it. So it was kind of ingrained in us, you know, you always have to help, you know. And I always, even when I was a little boy, you know, I used to see my grandma, my mom's mom. She was the same way. You know, and you know, my mom, when she was, like, I was talking to somebody just a few days ago, and he was telling me, your mom used to feed us, you know, and so a lot of students, you know, immigrants, they used to come, you know, back, you know, the time that we were here, they would go to college, you know, they don't have food, you know, they would come to my house, so my house was a stop for them to grab food. So my mom used to do that. So I don't remember that much, because when I joined the Marines, you know, that's about the same time they were doing that.
Yeah.
So I know that you watch some of the meetings that you watch, you know, it was kind of rough, and especially the first year, because, you know, everybody wanted the seat, you know, they just wanted the mayoral seat, you know. I didn't want the seat. Even from day one, I just wanted the change for the city. I wanted to help. And, you know, I told my wife, you know, when I was overseas in 2012, you know, I almost didn't make it back. You know, I got hurt pretty bad over there. And I told my wife, you know, when she just wanted me to come back and be done with the military. And I told her, you know, when I come home this time, I said I would leave, but just if I run for Dearborn Heights, run for office and change things. And, you know, she agreed. She's like, you know, okay. So we bartered, you know. So I finished 2016. I was, you know, I did 21 years at that time. So I took the time, you know, to go on council, but I wanted to go for mayor at the time. But that's another long story. So I wanted to change. I wanted to make things better for the city of Dearborn Heights. You know, I wanted to propel us forward. You know, one of the things that used to really irritate me the most when they say the city with a future. Well, anything has a future. But when you don't do nothing about it, you're just gonna sit there. And so I'm sitting there watching other cities, you know, even overseas, you know, you see countries, you know, we go overseas, try to help countries that we have no, you know, business, and, you know, but we help them. But yeah, you know, we're just sitting here, not doing anything. So that's why I wanted to actually do something. I didn't want to become the mayor. I wanted to become somebody to help the city, and in order to do that, you know, is to be the mayor.
Well, yeah, and it's a stepping stone. You know, being part of city council is a start for anybody to help, as long as they can see the need that's out there, and not the personal gratification that comes with, you know, being on the council. I'm on the council. Well, okay, but what are you doing for the city? That's the whole purpose of the council, is your government and your mayor. So we're going to take a break in a minute, but I kind of want to get back into what kind of difference did you want to make? What are some of the different, and we'll talk about it after break, but like, what are some of the differences in the city of Dearborn Heights? Did you, when you first took the position, interim until you were voted in, what, like, we're going to talk about one of the two things that you felt you really needed to give back to the community. So we're going to take a break right now, but don't go anywhere, because you're going to want to hear where Mayor Bazzi is going to take the city of Dearborn Heights. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. Welcome back to KiwaniTalk. I'm here today with Mayor Bazzi. He's the mayor of Dearborn Heights, and we're going to talk a little bit more about how he has moved and is continuing to move the city of Dearborn Heights forward. So now that we've been on the council and you've stepped into the interim mayor, what was your first surprise or shock of what's going on in the city of Dearborn Heights?
So I am always been, hands-on. When you give me a task, I'm gonna go look at it. I'm gonna dissect it, make sure it's done properly. So on council, I used to find out a lot of things. Just like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense, and I never got a full story. It's always, percentage of this, just enough, throw us a little bone. That's it. And it's like I always dig for more. Like I needed more information because the residents, they voted for me to do this, do the right thing. And again, I'm not there. It's not about the seat. So I figured. So when I got the mayor appointed, so the first year or so, then I started finding out a lot of things. Everything that I had a question, it was for a reason. I mean, one of the things, one of the council members came in and I had to show him certain things, and he's like, I said, listen, I don't want to say his name, but I said, I just want to bring something to your attention. He goes, you know what? I am not crazy. So I'm not crazy. I said, we never said you're crazy. So I showed him the stuff that he's been asking about for years. So stuff that, mismanagement, overspending stuff. So I started showing everybody that had something, a concern with something, I brought it to light, started showing these, council members. And that's one of the things they said, I am so glad, we appointed you because you brought things to light. So that's the stuff that I started finding out, like the first year being a mayor, where the mismanagement, overspending, not having the proper companies bidding for certain jobs. They were just getting jobs because they needed, because they knew somebody. So I stopped all that stuff because you're wasting so many taxpayers' money by not getting the proper, contracts. There's just a quick example. Without saying which company it is or what they were involved with, this company comes in and they're like, hey, why did you cancel my contract? I'm like, you didn't have a contract. Well, I've been doing this for 18 years. I'm like, well, you don't have a contract. Then I said, well, we're gonna go off for bid, you bid on it. So we did, we went off for bid, and that person came in about 300% more than the lowest bidder. Actually, I'm sorry, 300% more than the highest bidder.
Wow.
Yeah, and this person's been doing business with the city for almost 18 years. So this is the kind of stuff I wanted to stop.
So do you feel, I not living in Dearborn Heights, but hearing people and being around involved in the schools and talking to parents, I've heard nothing but good things, but I know there's people out there that no matter what you do, it's not enough. Tell me some of the things that you have done that's made a difference in Dearborn Heights. I know I've heard that the police chief was let go, and you're looking into those kind of positions that are not doing the right thing for the city. So what was your biggest task at this point other than finding a new police chief? Yeah.
Well, the thing is with like everything else, when people take position, when you put a person in a position, mayor can do so much. You have to rely on great people to represent the city. Right. So you can't do everything in the city. You bring great talent to the city. Right. And obviously I had to let go the old chief, because I mean, all I asked for something simple. You know, I want law and order in my police station, not in my city, in my police station. So I have an open door policy. The first thing I did, I said, I have an open door policy. Anybody can come and talk to me. So a lot of people came to me, including officers, and you know, said, you know, we have a problem. This is blah blah blah. You know, everything's going on. You know, without talking about this right here, and you know, went and just tried to address these issues, and nothing, just like crickets. So all I want is law and order, and I couldn't get it. That's why I did what I did. So with the current chief, he's amazing. You know, I actually I saw him. You know, I asked a lot of questions about, you know, this is what I needed. You know, somebody to come in and take care of the people. Community policing. I want our department to be engaged with the residents. You know, I don't want our residents to be intimidated by anybody. Again, that's another thing. You know, no intimidation, zero tolerance for harassment. Everything. You know, that's my vision for the city. So this new chief is, you know, is great. He's doing great things. You know, he's engaged in the community.
Is he from the area?
No, he actually retired from Novi.
Okay.
And then he went to Saline. So in Saline he was a chief. Then I stole him from Saline. And so when I tell that to everybody. He didn't interview for this job. He interviewed me for this job. Oh. So when I told him that, he interviewed me, and he wanted to make sure that my vision is, you know, aligns for his vision, for the because he's a people person too, and that's the hardest thing is, you know, try to find, you know, the people that were currently in place, they were just doing, you know, whatever they wanted to do. It wasn't for the residents. And the first thing I did is I wanted to break down those barriers. You know, I wanted to be open to the residents. You know, you have residents that were, you know. Again, you know, I don't want to bash, you know, people that were there in the past, but they weren't representing residents the way they should have been. There was no integrity. So I wanted to bring integrity back to the city. And I broke down barriers. Anybody that has an issue with anything, they can come. If they're not satisfied, they come to me. My door is always open, and we go resolve these issues. And you know, I'm concentrating mostly on customer service, you know, customer satisfaction. Who is the residents are my customers. I work for the residents. So that's the biggest challenge, is trying to have that. And the only ones that you have like resistance is because they don't want that.
Well, they've gotten away with whatever they have for so long. That change is going to change the way they live, the way they make a living. You know, and a lot of people have gotten away with it for so long. They don't see you, they see you as a threat because you're going to catch whatever they're doing or not doing or supposed to be doing. What's happening? Is there anything like new development or something going on in the city of Dearborn Heights?
So we have right now on Ford Road, we have a lot of construction going on. A huge, you know, strip mall just west of Gully. And there's those homes, they're zoned commercial just east of Inkster on Ford Road as well. And there's going to be some new businesses popping up over there. And I'm working on two things, you know, on Van Born and also Warren. I'm trying to figure out a way to actually designate two DDA, so downtown, Dearborn Heights, both on Van Born and Warren. So we have another program with Taylor. So we partner with Taylor, trying to come up with one ordinance for Van Born. Van Born corridor. We're working on that as well, trying to enhance the appearance of it, so encourage businesses to come in and buy property off of Van Born, to encourage people to invest. And also we're going to try to get some money from, like, figure out we get my infrastructure money to maybe give incentives for people to improve their businesses. And also Ecorse Creek, that's a huge problem.
You've cleaned it up a little bit from.
It's only a small percentage, but we're working with the county. You know, that's another problem that we've had in the past. There was not a good working relationship with our county. I mean, the county is the county. So now, so right now I'm building good rapport with Warren Evans, Mr. Warren Evans, Warren County Executive, and also Chief of Staff. So we're working together. We have a great team. So we're trying to get some funding to clean up the creek, you know, see if we can widen it, take out the dead trees. You know, that's a lot of the flooding happening from there. Yeah.
Do people understand that, you know, you can only do so much and you're working to get that Ecorse Creek fixed? And have they been a little bit more understanding when their basement floods as to why it's not fixed yet?
Well, you know, the residents, they're so sick and tired of people just talking.
Yeah.
And, or they say, we're doing a study. So the two words they hate is, yeah, okay, you know, we're going to do something about it, or, you know, we're going to do another study. Those are two things you don't talk to residents in that area, because they've been hearing for about 50, 60 years.
Yeah.
So I am working with the county. The county is really, you know, stepping in to help us. And also, I've talked to the governor as well. You know, she came to Dearborn Heights.
Yeah, I saw that.
And so there's chatter. You know, we got stuff, you know,
going on.
Looks like, you know, we're gonna have good luck here.
Yeah.
Trying to get some money. We'll probably need probably like $10–15 million to just clean up the area. And it's gonna probably be about 75 to 80% better.
Okay.
And yeah, right now it's definitely not good.
So we have a couple minutes left, but I remember talking to you one time, and I asked you, have you enjoyed being mayor yet, or have you started being mayor yet? And have you put out a lot of fires, and are you getting to be mayor yet? Because you're dealing with a lot of things going on. Have you felt that you've done a mayor's job?
Well, I don't. You know, like for me, especially me, you know, I always think that we can do something better. You know, you always got to try to be better myself, better what's going on. And you know, one of the things my police chief said it best the other day, he goes, Mayor, he goes, every time I turn a stone, there's something underneath it. So it's always like that. We're always fighting fires. So until, you know, we fight all these little fires, then we can concentrate on moving forward, propelling our city forward.
Yeah.
We're doing a lot of great things. You know, I have a great staff right now. So we have few ideas.
Okay.
We have brought in a great engineer, you know, for the city. And then the city's never had an IT person.
Oh,
we brought an IT person from the outside.
Okay.
And the city's never had an attorney that is actually representing, you know, works for the city.
Yeah.
So we have contract, you know, attorneys working for the city. So now I brought in an in-house attorney, so a full-time attorney.
Well, like you said, you and I could talk forever as to what you are doing. I just kind of want to say to the people out there, if you don't know Mayor Bill Bazzi in Dearborn Heights, and you live in Dearborn Heights, take a minute and stop in and say hi to him, or you can watch him or get involved in all the different community projects, services, the events that you guys have put on through this, you know, the Canfield, the Sitter Recreation Department. I've seen just a lot of things that are bringing the community back. Okay, it's not all bad stuff. It is bringing the community back. So, as mayor and as a friend, I want to thank you for doing everything that you have for Dearborn Heights in the last 2 years. I keep saying I should move to Dearborn Heights so I could.
I hope so.
Be a part of everything that you do. But you know, I've been in Dearborn all my life. But thank you, Mayor Bazzi, for being here tonight and for making the things happen in Dearborn Heights that you are.
Well, thank you, and I enjoy, you know, the Kiwanis does great things, you know, for the communities, and thank you for everything that you do as well.
My pleasure always.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And we hope that you enjoyed the show, and you can catch us on YouTube and Vimeo anytime you want to check this out. Thanks for being with us.